Hey guys, in this video we're going to be talking about event blocks. Now, I'm sure you guys are already familiar with one event block. That's this block, when green flag clicked. The reason why we call it event blocks is these blocks sense when something happens on the screen here. For example, this block is going to execute all the code underneath it when this green flag is clicked. Now, most games or projects in general are usually started with this green flag, and then a bunch of other event blocks can be used later on. One of the really key event blocks that is used in most games is this event block, when space key pressed. This block lets you sense when any key is pressed, not just space. So if you look at the drop down menu right here, you can see space, up arrow, down arrow, etc. all the way until just numbers. So the way this works is no matter when you click this green flag, if you press this key, it's still going to execute all the code down here. So let's take a look. I'm going to use this block, say hello. So when I press space in this case, it should say hello. There you go. I press space and now it executed this code down here. Now we can make this anything. Say if I press K, it should say hi. There you go. So it changes the words to hi when I press K. You'll find that this event will prove to be extremely useful in the future projects that you guys are going to be taking up on. The next event block we're going to be looking at is when sprite clicked. Now this event block is an extremely rare block to be used because usually people don't really click on the screen. They usually use their keyboards to play the game or do anything here. This only is useful when you have certain types of games. So let's say you want the sprite to do something when you click on it. In this case, we're going to tell it to go to a random position. When I click on it, it switches to random places. Now, this event block may not be useful all the time in many big projects, but when you're trying to do something creative or maybe more interactable with your screen, you can use this event block. Now, the next event block we're looking at is when backdrop switches to backdrop 1. Now, since we only have 2 backdrops created, or we have 2 costumes for one backdrop, we can only sense when backdrop switches to backdrop 2 or backdrop 1. Now, this can be useful for different level-based games. So say your player finally beats a level. Once he has beaten the level, the backdrop will switch and this thing will sense it and it'll execute some code. So say, to test out this backdrop event, let's make the cat say hello when it switches to backdrop 2. Now if we go to the code for the backdrops, I've already set up this code where when the green flag is clicked, I switch the backdrop to backdrop 2. So let's see the cat say hello. So obviously the hello is already there, so let's change this to something else. Let's make him say hi. If we run this now, he's going to say hi because the backdrop switched. Now there is also 3 extremely important event blocks. These event blocks, the bottom 3 event blocks here, are going to be extremely useful when you're trying to make certain levels do something or certain characters do something. So we have this right here called when I receive message 1. Now, message 1 is usually broadcasted with these 2. Basically, what's happening in this case is you're going to be running some set of code, and in the middle of the code, you're going to attach this broadcast message 1. Obviously, you can create your own message. Let's just say, tell sprite to say hello. Oops. Now this is the message we're going to broadcast whenever this is clicked. Now obviously, just broadcasting this isn't going to tell the sprite to say hello. When we receive this message over here, then we're going to go here and make the sprite say hello. Now let's test this out to see what happens. So as you can see here, I clicked the green arrow and sent out a message. Now remember, this message doesn't necessarily change anything in your code, or the message doesn't pop up on screen. All it does is it tells this over here, this event block, when I receive tell sprite to say hello, to run all the code underneath it. So this is extremely useful when you're trying to run a different set of code elsewhere, but you only want to run it sometimes. Now you guys will learn more in depth about broadcasting and receiving later on when it's really needed in most of the bigger projects. For now, all you need to remember is broadcast is basically going to ask this event block to run whatever code it has down here. So just remember, these two pair up together. So that's it for this video. In the next video, you guys will be learning about control blocks that are down here. These blocks will be extremely useful for you guys later on when you're making big projects and you always have to come across decisions.